It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesdays. And this Wellness Wednesday, I'm going to talk about bullies in the media. And I'm specifically not putting like Trump, Vance, Zelensky in the title of this video because I don't want the fucking trolls here. But a lot of people I talked to last week were really, really rattled by what they saw in that video. And I watched it, and yeah, I see why. And so I want to talk about it a bit after the fact, because again, I do not go for rage clicks on YouTube. I keep my community small so the comments are quality, so there can be discussions. And I rely on support from individual people instead of trying to get all these clicks and all this traffic, because I think that brings down the quality of the discussion. You have to start doing more and more hot takey things and people start feeling attacked, and that defeats the purpose of what I do. If somebody's feeling attacked, I want them to know that it is absolutely unintentional. So help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. And the thing that a lot of people said about the Zelensky White House thing with Vance and Trump is that it seemed like a setup. And as somebody who used to do those streams, during the Gamergate days, let me tell you, they may not be intended to be setups, but there's definitely a bias. And some people just like the fight because they think it's exciting. Now, Vance has this voice he goes into where he sounds like, and he keeps looking towards the camera like this, and he starts sounding like this lawyer. I am lawyering because there is a camera on, and I am a lawyer. I am a good lawyer voice. And he clicked into that. So there was definitely a certain amount of talking points. And there was definitely a desire to humiliate there on behalf of Trump and Vance with Zelensky, with you haven't been grateful enough. You haven't said thank you enough. Like, the guy's country has been invaded and, they're barely hanging on, and you're not saying thank you enough. You don't have any cards here. Like, what the fuck is that? That's the new reality that we're dealing with, folks, but it's been like that for a while. And as somebody who stopped doing as many streams, in part because that happened, I'm like, okay, who's on the panel? And then they'd switch somebody out and not tell me. And it was like 4-on-1. And it was just people going hit, saying stuff that wasn't true. I wasn't given a chance to respond. And so I'm just like, forget it. This is pointless, like really pointless. And even if I did manage to back some people off, make some valid points, and have people go, oh yeah, yeah, okay, I can understand that, then their fans would get angry at them because you're a cuck, you baited. And then they'd cut me up behind my back. And I'd go, hey, dude, what the fuck? Oh, well, sorry. It's like, no, you're a coward and you're not trustworthy and nothing good can come here because your audience clearly just wants you to beat up on the right people, and I'm not interested in being the right person. Now, Zelensky is kind of doing that. He's secured like $2.2 billion in funding or something like that from the UK. Obviously, that's a tiny, tiny percentage of what he's going to lose from the US. But hey, he's going to do what he's going to do, right? He has to. He doesn't have a choice. And it may be one of these things where he pulls a Trudeau and steps aside for the greater good, not just the good of the party, but the good of the country. But I really don't know who they'd replace him with, because let's face it, whoever the replacement is, they just stop the same playbook again. And that sense of pre-planned, deliberate humiliation, I think, really set a lot of people, like, it legitimately triggered, like a body response, like an I don't feel well watching this. And that is unfortunately the reality of watching the news these days. And that was one of those things where so many people were talking about it. I'm like, I really don't want to watch this, but I feel like I have to because it's something I'm going to have to talk about. And I thought Zelensky kept his cool. It probably didn't feel great. But I thought that he got through a really bad situation quite well. And of course, you wouldn't believe that based on the, the usual suspects on the Sunday morning shows saying he better change. He is just bully, right? We have something you want or need, so we're going to make you miserable to get it. And a lot of people experience that in jobs, in business deals. And sometimes you can't walk away. You got to really question whether you should, if it is at all possible, walk away from those people. Because that isn't about you. That's about them, right? Because the thing about people like that is if they are ever vulnerable, no one is going to help them. Because their rules are if you have a vulnerability, the leopards will eat your faces. And we'll see what happens. I mean, J.D. Vance is backed by Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel tends to get his way. But Trump is Trump. It's going to be a hell of a kaiju fight. When somebody's got to get blamed, they may double team Elon at that point. And ironically, they're using bully tactics that are used to be seen more in groups of women than men. Ironically, like, it doesn't matter what's true. What matters is what the group says is true. And it doesn't matter if there's facts to the contrary. We say you weren't thankful enough. So it doesn't matter how many articles run, the 24 times in a year Zelensky expressed gratitude to the U.S. Nope, not enough. Still not enough. It's weird. It's girl bullying, but just with men doing it. And I mean, this in a previous year would have been considered an absolute foreign policy disaster for the United States because, for a really long time, foreign policy was we're not the world's bully, well, that's changed. And I do think that there is an element of when some people are tired of being bullied, they're tired of feeling beaten down, they're tired of feeling restrained, they'll line up behind the biggest bully thinking that will keep them safe. Now, I do know some people who are used to be really hardcore MAGA, like voted for Trump the first time around, voted for him again. They are older, but so, I mean, they remember the Cold War, but they're like, nope, fuck it. When they saw what he did to Zelensky, siding with Putin and North Korea was just too much for them. And that's the thing. It was overt. They did it in public, right? Everybody can see it. And some people will buy the "you should have been more grateful" thing. I mean, that's going to appeal to narcissists. Yeah, but narcissists aren't enough of a percentage of population. Most regular people are going to put themselves in Zelensky's position because they identify more with the person on the receiving end of the gang up. And that's I believe, going to matter if there's more and more of this. But people are really scared because it's so overt now. And so the question is, what do you do with that? First of all, being triggered is a biological response. It is physiological. It is your breathing. It is your heart rate. It is, you feel sweaty. You feel shaky. It is biochemical. Breath is fundamental to getting that back under control. So whatever version of controlled pause or box breathing you find most effective for you, start there. Calm your body down. Next, you don't have to watch. You've made up your mind, right? You don't have to watch. You don't have to constantly scan for threats. Trust me, if you need to know something, you will know. You don't have to watch the news as a hypervigilant, hyper-aroused response, right? Next, actually talk about it with people who understand, with the parameter of, I don't want to get into a political debate. I want to talk about how this affected me, psychologically. And not everybody's the right person for that, but framing the conversation that way means that if it starts to drift to bickering about, the talking points, you can say, look, I said I didn't want to have a political fight. I just want to talk about how this affected me psychologically, right? And setting those boundaries is really, really powerful. Trust me. Get out of the mindset of losing friends, okay? Because sometimes losing friends is also shedding people who really aren't your friends, right? The number of friends you have is less important than the quality of those friends. And you are more vulnerable to these sorts of bullies if there are people around that you can't trust. And this is when people are starting to say, well, I don't trust anybody because I have trust issues. All right, fair. But, setting boundaries on conversations like, I don't want to talk politics, I want to talk about how this affected me psychologically, is a really good way to distinguish the people who don't agree with you politically, but do care and validate you as a human being. And, the people that are just trying to slowly chip away at you. And there's a lot of people out there that have been taught the chip away method politically, and they don't realize what they're doing. It's a very difficult thing, the number of manipulative behaviors that people have been taught that they don't realize are manipulative, because people have been doing it to them their entire lives. And you get to choose where the breaking points are in a relationship. No one is guaranteed access to you. Absolutely no one, right? It is so much better for your sense of safety and security when you know that you can say to somebody, hey, this bothers me, and they care. When you know you can bring up something that rubbed you the wrong way and they care. Even if they can't do anything about it, they care. They'll talk to you about it, right? You don't have to agree with everything. I know a lot of people that I consider close friends with don't agree with me on a lot of things. Just because I tend to skew more left, but Jewish family and the shit about the Middle East right now, right? I don't even know how to put that. But people just lose their fucking minds, and it's like, I can't just agree with them that, yeah, is all Israelis bad? All Israelis bad. Every single person who is in the IDF is genocide. Because I know people who served in the IDF, and I know they're not that. You know, Gal Gadot was a fucking trainer. She didn't genocide anybody, you know? And like, some of those people are gone. They wouldn't back down, you know? Some people do put their own panic first. And you have the right in those cases to go, no, I am setting parameters. You know, I got a guy right now who doesn't understand why I have an issue with him thinking Jews are going to hell. And he actually said to me, well, we don't think you're any worse than the pagans. I don't think pagans are going to hell either. Like, dude, he does not see going to hell signals, I think you're a bad person. Because, of course, he's in part of that Christianity where we're all bad people. We're all sinners. Yeah, bullshit. I just believe that that's a pissant excuse to do bad things and go, oh, I'll repent tomorrow. I'll repent next week. I'll repent the week after. It's a fucking excuse for shitty behavior if you can get away with it. And those are the people that, you know, may not be good for you. If you just find yourself bracing for a conversation with someone, you are not being cruel to them by setting boundaries and even cutting it off. You're being cruel to yourself if you don't past a certain threshold. And that is hard. That is really hard when you think someone was your friend and they change. And it happens, right? That person who is suddenly acting in a way that's not good for you, you didn't miss any warning signs necessarily. They weren't necessarily always like that. People change. Undiagnosed health issues happen. Mental health erodes. Life gets to them. Bothering with self-blame isn't worth it. You'll make yourself nuts. Okay? The best thing to do is go, okay, what are my values? What are my boundaries? And live by those. Because people can disagree with you on any political point as long as they acknowledge and validate your values and your boundaries. There's a reason on It's Not Therapy I say other people don't have to like your boundaries. They do have to respect them. Because respecting something you don't like is peak adulting. Okay? So what does that look like? It means like, okay, someone is saying, no, stop. Even if you think they don't really mean it, no, stop. Even if you think it's very important and they're wrong, no, stop. No means no, stop means stop, period, end of story. You only want to be around people who respect that and are not saying these things to manipulate you and are not blowing past your boundaries as a way of, you know, manipulating you as well. If people don't respect no and stop, that's pretty fundamental, right? And if people throw that around, if people weaponize boundaries, I put that in air quotes because I don't believe in it. A weaponized boundary is not a boundary, it's a manipulation. You know, a boundary is, look, I need you to stop. If you don't, I'm stopping this conversation. I'll talk to you next week. A manipulation is, well, if you say one thing I don't like, I'm going to stop talking to you because I have boundaries. That's not, you need to give people some time to adapt. And like, this is the thing. If we all live by this principle, the fucking pronoun fight goes away. It goes away, right? It recognizes that You are responsible for communicating your boundaries. And if you have some kind of bespoke noun that you want people to use in place of a pronoun, you gotta be prepared that people are gonna make mistakes as long as they try. Problem solved. Everybody only mildly unhappy. That's what happens when social change happens at this rapid a pace. Okay? And if somebody says, my pronouns are zither vither, and they expect you to get it perfect on the first try, that's not good faith. Because that's not you not trying. That just is something foreign. The vast majority of people are not going to expect that from you. I know people who use bespoke pronouns. I never fucking remember them. It's not a problem because they've got others like they that work just fine, right? It's for people like that, it's more this is something I'm doing for me. This is something I'm doing to validate me. I know other people won't necessarily, remember all the time. The one that I will not do, and I've tried to see the other side, but it just feels wrong to me to refer to a person as it. And I think it's my own trauma, and I know people who go by it, and I just use their name. I won't go there. And I have a boundary there. I feel sick saying it, referring to a human being. I don't even like doing that to a pet. Somebody calls a fish it. I'm like, no. What is that fish? Because that's not it. That's a them or a he or a she. Like you to me, you give dignity to a person by raising them above an object, and it is an object. And if it's part of BDSM play, okay, cool. But I didn't consent to your BDSM. That's the other part. If I know somebody's got a particular fetish and they're pushing people into that fetish in part of regular communication, no, I don't play that, right? And what does this have to do with the bullying? Well, anybody who is using coercive methods, coercive, humiliating methods, expects you to do something that makes you feel wrong to appease them. Someone who's, say thank you. You want to get as far away. You haven't said thank you enough. You haven't been thankful enough. There's two things I don't think that are ever going to go well. Demanding an apology and demanding a thank you. Because it's not going to be sincere, right? That's a power move. There are times where I do feel like I deserve an apology. I say it very rarely because the minute somebody knows you expect an apology is going to be, I'm sorry for what? I don't know, right? But gratitude is the same way. You can't coerce gratitude. Either somebody's thankful or they're not. And I mean, the fucked up thing about Ukraine is the U.S. really stalled on the funding because Congress was gridlocked because they wanted to make Biden miserable. Can we reasonably expect the Ukrainian people to be super thankful after that? I don't think that's reasonable personally. Like, I wouldn't expect somebody to be grateful if I got them something way late and they suffered negative consequences accordingly. Like, did I have to do it? No. But, sometimes things can be disappointing and still the best we could have done at the time. And I'd rather people not harp on the disappointment, but I don't expect them to feel grateful either. And these are the things. What's reasonable? What's reasonable in the situation? And are you making space for yourself as well as other people? And people who are badly bullied, right? Who are badly bullied as kids or teens, they don't know how to make space for themselves. It is this 5-alarm fire in their brain the minute people start talking that way, of they feel like, oh, they have to, or something terrible is going to happen. And they withdraw from the world. They don't socialize because, completely innocuous agreement makes them wonder, well, what have I accidentally just agreed to down the road that I don't know about? And the answer is nothing, right? You can go, okay, I'm not okay with this now at any time. And people who care about you are going to go, okay. They may seem surprised. They may go, okay, why? But you can't force another adult into things, not ethically. You can't, right? But that's not what the reality was for a lot of people in the teenage years. I was one of them. And let me tell you, it's hard to retrain your life for better. You lose a lot of people. I just did a thing with we went to the same restaurant like we went to like over a decade ago. It's more like 15 years ago. One of those Chinese buffet places for, both our birthdays. And I realized that couple, they're probably the only one from that group at that time I still have anything to do with. One other person. But similarly, the people around the table, other than, our immediate families, they were all different too. And that was really telling. And the truth is that most people you will meet aren't people you're going to be friends with for 15, 20 years longer, right? People just don't have the skills most of the time to maintain that. And so the people that are long-term friends like that, they're precious. And they're the people you do for, and they do for you, right? And it's never totally even. I would never think of say thank you for all I've done for you. Like, no, I'd never. Because, okay, we can't give each other the same things. It's very asymmetric. But they've given us, we've given them. It works out. I don't feel taken advantage of. And that's the most important thing. And I don't really believe Trump and Vance feel taken advantage of. They're locking into the fact that they know that other people do. But I think that anybody who saw that clip, not heard about it through the MAGA mouthpieces, but saw it, and, Zelensky going, well, we are thankful, and then just blowing past it, going, you're not thankful. Everybody's going to go, oh shit, I've been in Zelensky's position. But again, breathing, recenter internally, recenter externally. And if you're having trouble recentering internally, reach out and recenter by talking to people. Don't lash out. Don't go, America this, America that, fuck Americans. Don't do that. Don't do that, okay? Because only a minority of the country voted for him. He won the popular vote, but voter turnout, right? It wasn't 100%. And he won by less than the third party vote. So, right? It was close. So, no people, whole cloth, are responsible for their government, right? A lot of us, especially those of us who are stuck in ridings run by a party we don't agree with. You only have so much control over where you live, right? And sometimes you have to be among people you don't agree with politically to make change, right? To be examples of not scary liberals, right? Because there is a fear all around. And I really think it would be better to face the fear instead of ignoring it. I brought up the pronoun thing because that's the thing that I hear about, that people are afraid to try and get it wrong because then they'll be labeled a bigot when they just made a mistake or they didn't understand. It's a reasonable fear, right? And a smart advocate will go, yeah, we can do something about that. That makes complete sense to me. I'm with you on that one. I'll back you on that one. It's all good, right? I'm serious. For me, all I care is that you try, right? Just put in the effort. Treat the other person in good faith. It goes both ways, right? The minute something seems in bad faith, if I see somebody jumping on you for making an honest mistake, I will defend you. And they're still fucking terrified to try. Like, the internet has fucked people up that badly. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. The fear is real. And this is where we get into feelings are always valid. Actions aren't always. It's tough when you're scared to outwardly keep it together. And that's why, again, I suggest talking about how that affected you, your feelings, your mental health. Don't get into the debate on the policy or how you feel about Ukraine or anything like that. It's about your feelings. It's about whatever trauma that triggered. No matter what someone believes. Real friends, people who have your back, will care about that and put that first. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching and be well.